Presidential Library and Museum will be bringing to the fore. The idea is to ensure that we do not lose out on the very, very diligent work that was done for this country during the administration of the celebrants in the person of our father, the one that epitomized the concept of having the 3-digit identification. We all woke up to know that IBB stands out for Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, and that was the very first time in Nigeria that people started identifying their leaders with the title of, with their initials. And that initial stood by almost every one of us that was growing up in the 80s, because we just know that Babangida, IBB was going to come up with something anytime, that we are just about recovering from the last one. So we grew up that way, and tonight, this morning, I believe that some of the reminiscences of those sessions will be shared by his own people, his own tribe, as I like to describe them. The truth is that as we go on during this session, you would be introduced to these tribe members from the detribalized Nigerian that we all call IBB. The good thing is that throughout the session today, from morning till evening, we will be examining different aspects of his giant strides. We will be starting by looking at what we call the man, his vision, and his legacy being the theme. And the first session, of course, will be how he built his tribe. He has different tribes: the military tribe, the business tribe, the technocrat tribe, and so many other tribes that he was able to come up with during his session. And majority of them are still alive and strong, and they will be sharing their experiences with us today. The second panel will come up when we will be looking at the sub-theme, Vision, Foresight, Rebuilding a New Nigeria. Rebuilding a New Nigeria. And that, of course, will be moderated by none other person than Dr. Shidi Amuta. Of course, the panel that is looking at how he built his tribe will be moderated by the erudite Mrs Moji Makanjuola, that we have all grown to love over the years. The third panel, of course, will be looking at economy, rural development, and infrastructure. And some of those people that made it happen during this time, people like Air Vice Marshal Larry Konya, who headed the DIFRI at that time. And of course, you remember the Mamsa era of Professor Jerry Kana. And you remember, if you are a carpenter, oh, you see, just a few people can remember it because they lived during that era. If you are a broadcaster, broadcast well. If you are a tailor well. That was the slogan of MAMSA in those days. And everyone just wanted to do everything excellently. And of course, Professor Jerry Gana, was an epitome of that strike at that time. And then, of course, the final one is going to be the economy, rural development, and infrastructure. Of course, economy, rural development, and infrastructure was the key component of the Babangida administration. And it will be handled by a younger moderator this time around, in the person of Ms. Adaura Onyeshere. You would get to meet her when that comes. And then, of course, we will have the final panel, which is panel 4, the Nigerian foreign policy agenda and Pan-Africanism. These will be handled from the comfort of their homes. Thank God for technology. So they will join us at the appropriate time. To be comfortable all through, So the bathrooms are just outside the door. When you go right, you can use the bathrooms. And of course, breakfast is served, and it will be served all day. So when you just feel like it, taking a break, just step outside the hall and go to the breakfast room and the lunch room. All are set for your comfort. So you will be very comfortable all through the day. And I can tell you one thing, that everything has been put in top shape. There's no reason for you to worry about spending the day with us. And if you're joining us online, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on any social media platform, and of course, live on here IT, we just want to say thank you for joining us. You will be glad that you spent the day with us, because today history is being made. The Maiden edition of the IBB Legacy Dialogue is taking place, and everyone that is here is ready to give you that little part of history that you may not have been familiar with. You're going to hear from the horse's mouth as they speak, as they say, and then you are going to be able to contribute from the comfort of your home. Just send us messages on the social media handles, and we will ensure that the panelists and the moderators take all your concerns and address those issues as they become available. I can also assure us that for this morning, everything that we need to be able to enjoy the moment has already been put in place. I would not like to end this welcome session without letting us know that Daddy is also sitting quietly in Mina and watching everything that we are doing, live and direct. And at the appropriate time, he will definitely step in to say hello to everyone in the house. So I'm sure we are all excited and we are all fired up to enjoy the moment that we have all been waiting for. I want to recognize the presence of my big mommy, Her Excellency Alhaja Sinato Ojikutu, former Deputy Governor of Lagos State. And I just want to say thank you for everyone who has taken time to be here as well. Please, thank you, because we really, really do appreciate the fact that you have taken time out of your busy schedule to be with us, especially the octogenarians in our midst, the septuagenarians in our midst. I couldn't catch up with some of them yesterday. I was wondering exactly what breed are these ones. They just seem to be ageless. I gave you an example of distinguished Senator David Mack. I didn't know he was the one in the room. And the same thing happens. I mean, if it's not for some of the signatures that we know of some of them, that's what we just look out for, and then we identify them with it. But the truth is that these people are ageless. They are going stronger and stronger, even in their 70s and in their 80s. And I think we all have a lot to learn from them. I asked one of them yesterday, what's the secret to this? And he said to me, you got to start early. Exercise is not an option. Exercise is a requirement. So please let us learn to copy what they have done. And if we want to look just like them when we get to that age, we better start now. I'm saying all of this, and I think at this point, I would just like to say thank you, everyone, for being here. We appreciate you, and we just want to give yourself all a round of applause. Thank you, and God bless you. At this point, I'm going to have to bring in the first moderator of the first panel. And majority of you are familiar with that voice on television for several years. I call her Auntie Moji, and majority of you call her simply Moji Makanjuola, Nigerian journalist who has contributed significantly to the improvement and development of journalism in Nigeria and in the area of health journalism. She's a media consultant to the UN Women. She has also worked for decades with the Nigerian Television Authority, where she rose to the position of head of health and gender desk before her retirement. She was pioneer member of the Center for Disease Control, Atlanta in USA, before retiring from NTA. She had earlier worked in the then national television broadcast, Kwara State, Nigeria, where she was their first television announcer. Mrs. Makanjuola was also the head of presentation and reportal units of NTA between 1980 and 1985. And you will recognize the fact that 1980 and 1985 and thereabouts were those golden moments of Nigeria where our celebrant of today held sway. So please put your hands together as I bring forward my auntie, Auntie Moji Makanjuola. And she will take over from now. Thank you, Auntie, and welcome again.
Your Excellencies, all very, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen. This is a huge moment for us in the history of this country, reflecting on our yesterday, bringing back that which can make our tomorrow better. And so I feel extremely honored and privileged to be part of these discussions that I'm sure will not just tell us about how it happened, the good, the bad, the ugly, but moving us, accelerating us towards a better Nigeria. So I welcome all of us here, and I hope that we'll have such a wonderful time, particularly those watching us online, and of course for those who today, I think I fall into that category we can call our children, because I'm a grandmother as it is now. So I do hope that today's conversation would bridge the gap that we as a country today do not even want to think about. So I welcome all of us here and pray that it will be a springboard for unity, for peace to reign in Nigeria. Thank you very much. Having said that, can we, I'm getting, beg your pardon? Yes. Having said that, we will stand up for the national anthem, and thereafter, the chairman of today's occasion, who I can see wearing a necktie, I'd rather call it a necktie, would now speak to us. So please, shall we all rise as we... Okay. We're singing it together. That's the spirit. So we'll sing after the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Arise, O compatriots. Strength and faith, the labor of our heroes past, never be in vain, to serve with heart and might, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity. Thank you all. Please be seated. At this moment, Your Excellencies, I'd like to invite High Chief Dr. Raymond Dokpesi. We all know him as the Independence television giant. However, he's done so many other things in his life, but it's so appropriate to have him today as chairman. May just permit me, sir, to just read a little so that our youngsters who are watching can just know a bit about you. High Chief Raymond Anthony Dokpesi is a Nigerian media entrepreneur. Started his early schooling with Loyola College, Ibadan. He did his undergraduate studies at the University of Benin, Edo State, and completed his studies in the University of in Poland, where he earned his doctorate degree in marine engineering. In 1994, he launched the first Nigerian private FM radio station, Ray Power. 2 years later, he launched Africa Independent Television. High Chief Dokpesi's accomplishments include establishing the first indigenous shipping line in Nigeria, establishing the first privately owned radio station, Ray Power FM in Nigeria, pioneered Nigeria's first global TV, which was Africa's first ever satellite TV station. I present to us all, Your Excellencies, all very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Chairman of today's opening session, Dr. Dokpesi. You have the floor, sir.
Your Excellencies, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, both present at this venue and the several millions who are watching at home. It's my great honor and privilege to welcome you to the first session of the General Ibrahim Babangida's celebration of his 80th birthday. General Babangida, like we all know, was born on the 17th of August 1941. He stormed Nigeria's center stage of political landscape as the 7th Nigerian head of state at the early age of 44 years in a bloodless but daring palace coup. Before him were General Aguiyi Ironsi from 1966 to July 1966, General Yakubu Gowon from 1966 to 1975, General Murtala Ramat Mohammed, July 1976 to February 1979, General Olusegun Obasanjo, 1976 to 1979, Major General Muhammad Buhari, December 1983 to August 1985. General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida later became Nigeria's first head and only military president this far. Worthy of note is the fact that in line with our country's leaders, General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida has, for reasons positive or negative, remained the most talked about for the 28 years or thereabouts since he left office. His name, his person, or his plethora of political and policy decisions and infrastructural landmarks have been recurring decimals, reference or reference points. Almost 3 decades after, until recently, no former head of state is as much a subject of discourse in streets and enlightened circles. While some heap all the woes plaguing the country on policies, actions, or inactions of IBB, as is popularly known, there are multitudes, on the other hand, who defer to him as iconic, revere, and idolize him. Such is the enigma our living legend is. Our hero's place in the history of our country is not only etched in his eventful 8 years as president, it is rather a lifelong story of patriotism, of voluntary conscientiousness, and commitment to the service of his fatherland. If this was not the situation, one would easily ask what could have made or propelled such a young person to look for a career in the military, that profession where only men and women of unalloyed love for their country and valor and patriotism choose to dedicate their lives. During the Nigerian Civil War, between 1967 and 1970, the young IBB was at the war front to keep this country united and indivisible. No wonder he still strongly believes in the indivisibility of this country. It is on record that he missed death by whiskers, as he still lives with a troubling bullet buried in the marrows of his bone. As we are all aware, since the calamitous 15th January 1966 coup, the military has ruled this country for about the same equal length of time as the civilians. 29 years for the military and 26 years of civilian. He was definitely not involved in the first coup d'etat that took place in January 1966. But all the other successful coups of July 1960, July 1975, and that of 1985, which brought him to power, he was actively involved. There's no gainsaying, therefore, that to the extent that we cannot wish away the place of the military in the governance of our country, to that extent, we cannot we must place the role of IBB in our collective experience as a people. Although the teaching of history was banned in Nigerian primary and secondary schools, volumes have been written on IBB, on the IBB era, and many more will be written in the years ahead. Let me highlight some of the most prevalent issues on the IBB phenomenon, starting on the positive and sunny side of the divide. A number of citizens still cherish the unprecedented color, glamour, and grandeur that characterized its administration. IBB brought into government a galaxy of headaches, specialists, and professionals, unarguably more than any other leader before and after him. Most notable amongst these were Professor Likoye Ransom Kuti, who turned around the healthcare system in this country, Chief Kalu Ndika Kalu, Professor Tam David West, Jubril Aminu, Professor Jerry Gana, Professor Sam Oyovare, and too many others to mention who contributed positively and properly to reshaping our destiny as a nation. I make bold to state that even the worst of the critics of IBB cannot but gallant him for his footprints on the infrastructure landscape. This includes the movement of the nation's capital from Lagos to Abuja in 1991, the Kano-Abuja Expressway, and a plethora of other underlining national monuments and edifices. These are besides many agencies and institutions he birthed, and which are still very much relevant and surviving. Amongst these legacy institutions, which for want of time cannot be mentioned here, are the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, National Food, Drug Administrative and Control, NAFDAC, Federal Road Safety, the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, and several others. How can we meaningfully talk about IBB legacies without mentioning the recognition and place of women in his administration? He empowered his elegant, beautiful wife of grace with robust, incisive intelligence, our mother, the late Haja Maryam Babangida of Blessed Mumuru, to play an unprecedented role in the position of women in nation building. The Better Life for Women program still remains the foundation of the placement of women in our society. This exemplary policy is up till today being emulated by all first ladies thereafter. We can now confidently look forward when a woman in this country will become the president due to the position that General Ibrahim Babangida has placed women and the hopes he has given them. On the other hand, his traducers, the traducers of General Ibrahim Babangida, say that he's anything but a saint. they call him Maradona, denoting that he gets his goals by foul means, is to them an embodiment of evil that gave birth to every plague of the nation. While there's a national consensus that majority of the cesspool's elite class is drenched in the cesspool of corruption. However, without anyone ever bringing forth concrete evidence of proof, some people have somehow succeeded in putting on IBB the putative droga of the grandfather of corruption in Nigeria. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Lagos-Ibadan axis of the media in this country, who are greatly hurt by the cancellation of the June 12, 1993 presidential election, in which one of their illustrious sons, or the illustrious sons of that axis, contested and allegedly won the election, have continuously alleged that about 12 billion naira from the Gulf War windfall has not been properly accounted for. Investigations have been carried out both discreetly and openly, and there is no single evidence to show that General Ibrahim Babangida or his administration diverted or corrupted himself with the resources of this Gulf War stream. During the Gulf War stream that lasted for only a short period of about 1.5 years, how much could Nigeria have earned at that time for this toga to have continuously been propelled by my colleagues in this axis of the media? There's no proof. It is either a deliberate effort to smear whoever has been chosen to be smeared, or indeed, at the very worst, it is meant to degrade and bring him down. This country belongs to all of us. As a nation, we must continue to cherish the positive and landmark developments that people have made, the sacrifices they have made for the good and development of this country. The other issue which they refer to is actually what I had mentioned as the annulment of the 1993 June 12 election. Unfortunately, we were active players also at that time. And President Babangida has explained times without number that as we created a situation in the very recent past based on doctrine of necessity, also at that time, the doctrine of necessity, I'm happy that General retired David Mapp, President of the Senate, who was champion of that, is also present in the hall. It was expedient in the understanding of the administration at that time to really annul that election. And I think time has passed. We need to rebuild the country at this point in time. We need to move forward and put behind us all those negative tendencies, the biases and abuse that we need. There is no time that this country has been divided, has moved away from the ideals and the efforts which General Babangida led during his 8 years tenure as president of this country, as we have found ourselves today. We are very, very divided. We are at the precipice of sinking and dividing the country into what is not expected. In all, it must be acknowledged that President Ibrahim Babangida contributed quite enormously, both to the development of the country and the sustenance of the unity of this country. I join the millions of Nigerians, those of us that are his very strong admirers, to wish him a very happy 80th birthday. We look forward to his being 100 years old, and we shall still be alive to celebrate him for that long. Welcome. Thank you very much for honoring the invitation to partake in this 80th birthday. God bless all of you.
Wow. Thank you very much, Chairman, today. I can see a lot of emotions in that. I can see a lot of wanting to, yes, to let us know and bring us back to history. We are going into the discussion proper. The chairman has given some insight from his own perspective, and I just want to bring us back, that we're here today to bring into perspective the man, IBB. What do you know about him? What do you want to know? And how do we go forward with that? So before the discussions, I would just say that some members of my panelists are going to be joining me online, but I'd like now to introduce to us the first panel, and joining me on this side of the hall is General Abubakar, the former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Your Excellency, I'd like to bring you.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Quickly, I just want to do a reflection, because actually that's what we're doing today. I'd just like to give you some insight of how he became head of state. General Abubakar joined the Nigerian Army in 1975 and received his former military training in the United States. He commanded Nigeria's contingent of United Nations peacekeeping troops in Lebanon in 1981. By the late 1980s, he was a senior officer, and in 1993 was named Defense Chief of Staff by General Sani Abacha, who became Nigeria's military ruler in that year. Following the sudden death of General Abacha in June 1998, General Abubakar was sworn in as Nigeria's head of state. Like many other Nigerian military leaders, he promised to return to a civilian government, and he kept his promise. Although General Abubakar dissolved the political parties Abacha had established, he did establish a plan for multi-party elections, and he set May 29, 1999 as the swearing-in date for the new civilian president. Confidence in Abubakar's plan was strengthening when the Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka returned home after 4 years in self-exile. As promised, presidential elections were held in 1999, and General Abubakar handed the government over to the winner, General Olusegun Obasanjo, on the promised date. He retired from the military and returned home to Minna. He is the current chairman of the National Peace Committee, and I think this earned you, sir, more than anything, to be the first on the panel discussing reflections on IBB times as we go on. Next, I'd like to bring on Chief Emmanuel Iwuayanwu, and I'd just like you to welcome him warmly. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
How are you? Fine, thank you.
Good to see you, sir. Chief Emmanuel Iwuayanwu was born in Atta, Ikeduru local government area of Imo State, southeast Nigeria. He studied civil engineering at the University of Nigeria, and thereafter worked at the Hadel and Eni Construction Company. Later acquiring the company from the foreign operators, his business grew into a conglomerate of over 20 companies. He had a promising political career and at different times ran for the office of the presidency of Nigeria. He also held several political offices for the Nigerian government, notably in sports administration and management of federal roads maintenance. He's currently a member of the Board of Trustees of the ruling People's Democratic Party and coordinated the party's campaign for the Southeast Zone during the 2003 presidential election. I'd like to welcome you again, sir. I'd just like to take us back. We've heard from the chairman, but take us back to what we want to reflect on today, the man IBB. So I have a little thing that I wrote on top of my head, and I just hope it will stimulate the discussion. Yes. Okay, if you're watching on screen, also on the panel from Kano, I had been waiting for that. We have Brigadier General Halilu Akilu. Good morning, sir. How is Kano? Thank you. I will get back to you with your full introduction. Right. Okay, and at some point too, we will have one other person join us, okay? Right. So Your Excellencies, all distinguished Nigerians, we have a huge task today, that of revealing an enigma, a larger-than-life son of the Nigerian nation. A colossus using whatever standards you wish to assess him, whether as an astute statesman, an officer and thoroughgoing gentleman, a large-hearted individual, an intellectual, an orator, articulate president, an African patriot, or courteous human being. No one can completely peg him to a hole and unravel all of what he means to this nation. To many who know and worked with him, his tribe and family, many of his highly enduring qualities commended him to all of us here present and those watching out there. We can all agree that he means a lot to all here and Nigerians at home and abroad. That he's highly detribalized is not in doubt. Witness his array of friends and acquaintances. That is highly visionary is not in contention either. We all have so very many revelations and unfolding of this legendary son of Nigeria. We might not end this event if we all speak. So let's get to business to unveiling him. Now that he's aged like good wine, he's much more valuable for his wealth of experiences, this giant amongst men, and in lighter mood. Well, I'm not the first one saying it. The chairman alluded to that. But a lot of Nigerians claim that is the Nigerian Maradona, as they call him. So we'll kick off from that, and I'll come to you, Sir General Abdulsalam. Now, what's your earliest memory of Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida?
Well, thank you very much, the moderator. First, let me thank the Babangida family for setting up this occasion. I think the children and all those involved in setting up this deserve commendation. I can say now that of age, we, their parents, can now sleep, that they are taking over. Congratulations and well done. Well, like the chairman said in his opening speech, IBB, Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, was born on the 17th of August in the year 1941. Babangida is a year older than me, so I will say we grew up together. We are in the same generation in Mina. He was born in Mina, as the saying goes. His father was working then for the government, and his nature of job takes him traveling from one place to the other. But finally, to make his job easier, he decided to settle in Mina. And at the age of 5, IBB was taken to Shishi to stay with his grandparents. But after a short stay there, his father decided to bring him back to Mina for his education. So in 1950, we were taken to the then Gwari Native Authority Primary School in Minna in 1950. And at that time, the system in the school was 6 years. You do primary 1 to 4, when we are taught in vernacular. And then for the next 3 years, we moved to then senior primary school. So from 1950 to 1957, we were schooling in Minna. Then in 1957, we moved to then Bida Provincial Secondary School, which is now Federal Government College Bida in Niger State. Well, I will say during our younger days, we used to call him Megari. Megari was an up-and-doing young man. He was appointed our class monitor when we were in primary school, and that shows that he has the trend of leadership at his early stage. Now, Babangida's father, Mohammed, may he rest in peace, was a polygamist. He had three wives. Now, unfortunately, the other wife's children did not survive. It is only IBB and his sister that survived. So Ibrahim grew up amongst colleagues, friends, like all of us, growing together in Minna during our primary school days. And like I said, we moved to Bida Secondary School. And there we met other classmates like General Nasco, Garbaduba, and so on and so forth. And later, we were joined by the younger generation like Professor Jerry Gana, who were some years behind us. So during that time, you could see, because of lack of transportation and communications, once we are taken to the boarding school, you must make friends. And this is what endeared Ibrahim to a lot of friends he made. He's quite accommodating, quite generous to a fault, I will say, because Ibrahim is the kind of fellow that he can deprive himself to make sure that you are happy, and so on and so forth.
So from day one, you saw leadership qualities in him.
Correct.
And so you were not surprised at the rate at which he grew in his career as an army officer.
Right. Like I said, during our primary school days, he was made a monitor of the class. And later when we went to secondary school, again, his qualities were always there. And in 1962, our final year, he was appointed as the head boy of the school. So certainly, he has leading qualities that is visible at any place that he. Then in 1962, in December, he then moved to the Nigerian Military College, where he started his military training, after which he moved to India for further training. And on return, he was commissioned as a second lieutenant. And since then, you know, being a military officer, certainly that places him on leadership of men and women under him.
Yes.
And certainly, we could see he has been playing that role perfectly.
Thank you very much. I needed for us to get this historical background, particularly for the younger ones who are watching, for us to know that it didn't just happen. it started from the very, very beginning. So I'll just move on quickly. You know, he became commander later on, first, people say called president of Nigeria. So we'll look at that public life of his. And I'll come to you, Sir Chief Iwuanyawu. Okay, and I'll ask you, yes, is IBB a reliable friend?
Yes, I want to thank Mr. Chairman, Dr. C. I've seen you for a very long time, my friend, and thank you very much. General, the former president, and all distinguished Nigerians, I'm glad to be with you. Frankly speaking, I want to thank Aisha and the siblings for organizing this ceremony, because the invitation was brought to me by Aisha. I feel very happy, feel very excited. I'm proud of Aisha. For my friend IBB, to me, I think it's in a lifetime, to be able to see this when one is alive is a great thing. There's a time in the life of any human being when you pause for a while, when you reflect on the past, when you examine the present and peep into the future. And I think for IBB, this is the time to say thus and then be able to say glory be to God. I want to tell you that IBB and IBB has impressed me as a friend. IBB has impressed me as a leader in many directions. I will mention just a few. Now, we have IBB fought the war. I want to let you people know I fought the war on Biafra's side. We fought each other. He had injury. Those who know me now, I used to work with crutches, but I had to go to Johns Hopkins, and I'm wearing an artificial leg right inside me here. And these are problems we got from the war. That's why we are warning younger ones who are causing trouble. We are telling them that it's not a tea party. You see, IBB fought the war, and I fought the war. And we suffered bullet injuries. And the surprising thing is that IBB is somebody who came to power. And I assured those of us who fought the war, the Biafrans, when Nigeria was reintegrated, he made it real. IBB made it real. If you went to IBB's office, you will see it's just like a commonwealth of all Nigerians. In his personal assistance, you have people from all parts of Nigeria. I can't say that of other top people in this country. IBB had people from all parts working for him. He had many friends. So it's an example other leaders must learn. For a country like Nigeria that has got so many ethnic nationalities, people continue talking of presidency because of the enormous power he has. And when people go there, they neglect others. IBB did not neglect any ethnic nationality. He accommodated them one way or the other. So he played a major role. And let me tell you one thing about IBB. I didn't know him very well. I didn't know him during the war. But I fought in the northern sector. I think he fought sometime in the northern sector. Maybe we fought each other at a point. But you see, what happened is that before I joined the army, Biafra was banned, blocked by America, by Britain, by Russia. We couldn't buy arms. So engineers all over the world in Biafra, those in America, those in Britain, who were manufacturing industries equipment, came back and set up manufacturing equipment, what they call research production, under the leadership of SYMFONI. I was in my final year in engineering. They selected 3 best students in science, and then we were involved in the manufacture. So I was an engineer, part of the first rocket produced in Nigerian soil, first of bombs and rockets produced in Nigerian soil. Now, I didn't know IBB. One day, IBB invited me to his office. Apparently, he got information, and then opened up a discussion about economic difficulty of Nigeria. How we were able in Biafra to produce rockets, to produce bombs, and so on. And he heard that I was part of it. Then he talked about it. At that time, I remember he specifically mentioned that oil was selling at less than $10 per barrel. So Nigeria had problem in meeting up oil. And you know, one thing that impressed me, that was my first close discussion with him. He had a part. Even when I was talking, do you know, a head of state was recording what I was saying. I felt very flattered. Then, do you know, after that, IBB told me to go and set up the raw materials at the Women Council of Nigeria. Many people don't give him credit. IBB was the person who founded the raw materials at the Women Council, and because he was worried that most of our raw materials we have, virtually all materials you require in the world here in Nigeria. Foreigners got them raw, take them, process them, and sold back to us at their own price. So he told, and then I went there as the first chairman. I worked with the council, and we were able to do a lot of job. After, see, one thing is that for IBB to have confidence on a person called rebel, that time we were all called rebels. For IBB to have confidence, because he believes that we can do, that is why Igbos have confidence in him. We know he's married to our daughter. Igbos have confidence in IBB. Nobody should make any mistake about it, because he gave us respect. When he was in power, there was no discrimination. We don't want him to bring everything and give to us. But everybody should get his share. Recognize us too. IBB recognized him. I'm the chairman, by the way, for avoidance of doubt. I'm the chairman of Council of Elders of Igbos worldwide at the moment. So when I speak, I'm in a position to speak for the Igbos. So he was very good to Igbos, but he married our daughter. So he's our son-in-law. But that is not the main issue. It's the capacity. So I'm very proud.
I'd like to take that from you, because I'll still come back to you.
Okay.
I like the fact that that is the capacity. And we have established the Nigerianness in the principle we are speaking to about today, IBB. I'd like to take us to Kano. And I saw him before we started online. Can we please have General Akilu back online? Brigadier General Akilu retired. Can we have him back online? And yes, thank you, that's him. Quickly like to just reflect on who Brigadier General Halilu is. Was commissioned in 1967 after he attended the Nigerian Defense Academy. He later attended Junior Staff College, War Minister in 1973, Command and Staff College, Pakistan in 1979, King's College London in 1983, and the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies in Kuru, 1989. General Akilu has, as we know, he's an officer and a gentleman, and he later became commander of the 146 Infantry Battalion that suppressed the Metasini religious riots. General Akilu later joined the Directorate of Military Intelligence as a lieutenant colonel. He replaced General Aliyu Gusau as Director of Military Intelligence and was a member of the Armed Forces Ruling Council from 1989 to 1993. He worked alongside General Aliyu Gusau in reorganizing the security and the intelligence apparatus. He was one of the team that supported the breaking down of the then National Security Organization, NSO, into 3 organizations: the State Security Service, SSS, now Department of State Services, National Intelligence Agency, NIA, and the Defense Intelligence Agency, DIA, where he served twice, from August 1985 to July 1986, and January 1990 to September 1990. Rich profile there. Okay, I will come to you, General, and I would just like, share with us something that has not been said or we've not heard about him. And I think you would know as an intelligence officer. So share with us that which can actually bridge the gap of divide that we talk to, well, the country is facing, as it were. Speak to us about that quality that has endeared IBB to you.
Like the chairman said, you see, IBB is one of the most investigated, ridiculed, praised individual, former head of state. He has paid his due, and like I said earlier on, he's very accommodating, very generous man to a fault. And even at his retirement, IBB is always thinking about Nigeria and its future and how the country is doing. So, like the chairman said, I still repeat, he has got the love of this country in his heart, and he's always concerned of how things are going. The chairman also alluded to the fact that I think IBB is one of the most misunderstood individuals in the country. But by and large, you could see by his action what he has established in the country. We are still enjoying the benefits of some of the infrastructures he has brought in. Like the chairman said, he moved the capital to Abuja, and you can see how Abuja is one of the greatest, fastest growing capitals in the world.
Well, I'd like to come back to you because Chief Iwuanyawu, you were very emphatic about him marrying, you know, your daughter. Yes. So, how would you describe his family life?
Frankly speaking, he had a very good family life. And he loved our sister so much. And we respect our sister. And in fact, our sister has died. He pained us so much. He pained IBB. I'm not sure IBB had recovered from the death of the wife because they are very close. I know that they were very close. It was very painful. Our sister was very good to us. And I think I will recommend to the President General of our Igbo, he's going to be given posthumous honor because of the services he rendered to Igbos and to Nigeria. The chairman of this occasion has already mentioned the better life for women, which is a very important job because she started this idea of concern for the plight of women. Today, that battle has reached a crescendo. People are fighting. So it's a very important battle. So we are very, very happy about, I'm very proud of her. And I thank God that IBB is alive today. That is my greatest joy. In most cases, when people die, people start talking about them. The Julius Caesar Marquez says that the evil good the men do is buried with them. The evil is what everybody propagates. So I'm not worried about all the stories they talk about IBB, to be honest. There is no leader in the world that hasn't got this type of story. But the point is that IBB has not been found in responding. You see, a leader must have a machinery for swift response. This question of two issues that worried us was this Dele Giwa thing. Dele Giwa is fake news. Today, we have heard about fake news. Nothing is fake news, but I think it was not properly responded to. So it became, this man propagandist, German propagandist said that one lie is told several times, it comes true. That Dele Giwa thing is a fake news, obviously. Now, the other one is the cancellation of result. There is no way one person alone cancel that thing comprised so many. Nobody in that place protested to the Nigerians that time. There were members of Supreme Military Council. None of them protested or resigned his position because of that. None of them. So the truth is that normally when there is any problem, but you see, I think, you see, what we are doing today is alive. Let this be a forerunner to what could bring, because what he has done, if we can take stock of it, count it one by one. I mean, nobody I'm challenging the press today to go and count it one by one. I have done it myself. The chairman has mentioned a lot of them. The headquarters, I know the problem of moving Abuja, from Lagos to this place. It's not easy. History has it on record that he is the person who had the courage to come here. There are so many things he has done. So I think really that after this, the narrative may improve. And
I would just like to say that I actually wanted you to give a further insight into this tribalized IBB.
Yes.
Is there a strength for growth that Nigerians need to, especially Nigerian leaders? Is this something that we all should embrace? Because in whatever strata of human development you find yourself, there's always a leader. Going forward and building a better Nigeria, what are these strengths in IBB that we all should clamor for or endear ourselves to?
Now, you see, when you assume a leadership of a people, a multi-ethnic people, it's a very delicate situation. And you must realize that you have to carry everybody along with you. If you run election, for example, and you win, the moment you win, you are sworn in. You are now the leader of both those who supported you and those who didn't support you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
I would like to hear from the general on this detribalization and moving forward as a people.
Well, like the other speaker said, once you are a leader, regardless, everybody is yours. Because you are, at that particular time, you are the leader, and people, you are supposed to look after the welfare of the citizens of the country. I think maybe Akilu is...
I think we can have Brigadier General Akilu now.
I really wished I am within the event center. However, I'm in Kano, and the fluctuation of the internet is what is giving us cause of worry. By telling the audience how I came about meeting then Major Ibrahim Babangida. In 1968, my battalion was at Ihube. Ihube is not very far from Enugu. At that time, the sector commander was General Danjuma. They were based in Enugu. And General Babangida was asked to take over from Garba Dada as the brigade commander, brigade major. It was a sector, but still we had a brigade major. He took over from Colonel Dada as the brigade major, acting brigade major. I think it was in June, July 1968. I had a commander, a battalion commander called Colonel A.A. Gora. He was then a major also. Major Gora and myself visited the sector headquarters, and there we met Major Ibrahim Babangida as the brigade major. There was an incident that attracted me to such a gentleman and a kind-hearted officer. Those who knew A.A. Gora, Major A.A. Gora, my battalion commander then, they knew was a bully. Major Gora asked for a bottle of beer, and the barman was not quick in bringing his order. Unfortunately for Major Gora, he descended on the boy, abusing the boy, trying to punch him. There and then, for the first time, I saw Major Babangida very furious. He stood up and said, if you touch this young boy, I will punch you also. So you can see an officer who cares for the welfare of his junior, whether officers or men working under him. That was how the mess became so rowdy. People intervened. I was the only officer in between. I had to intervene. So we pulled out Major Gora, and Major Babangida was persuaded to let the issue die, and we pulled Gora out and drove back to Ihube. So you can see the type of officer. And we learned right from his secondary school days, that was his, one of his qualities in standing by the junior officers. And that is how his own courage, his own kindness and generosity, and also intelligence, galvanized all the young officers behind him, especially when the time came when the change of government was being considered. There was no hesitation of many junior officers to support General Babangida. So this is the little. And on the family side, I was also wounded on the war front in 1969. I was flown to 44 Military Hospital in Kaduna, and I think General Babangida was then flown to Lagos, another Creek Hospital. And when we recovered, we met in Kaduna, and that was when he decided to get married to Maryam Babangida. And the marriage was in September 1969, and we all happened to be in Kaduna. I was invited for the marriage. Unfortunately for me, the two families of Muhammad King and that of Major Babangida were at the dinner party of the wedding. There I sighted a young girl, a beautiful young girl, unknown to me. She was part of the family of Muhammad King. The father of this girl was a junior brother to the mother of Maryam Babangida. So the connection of, beside the military connection, and then we came to have this family connection, very close family connection with General Babangida. People are wondering, are saying, look, you always have blind loyalty to this man. I explained to them, it's not because of his name, Ibrahim Babangida, it's because of the qualities he has. He is a gifted person. Gifted in the sense he is courageous, kindness to a fault. General Babangida, I remember he had only one car, and a friend of his asked him for a car, and he gave him out that car. So you can imagine how generous someone could be. You having only a single car, a friend of yours in need, and you gave him such a car. His loyalty to his friends is legendary. General Babangida is loyal to his friends. No matter what, he will never betray you. He will never go after you. We had a friend, a common friend called Idris Ibrahim. He was a senator, Senator Idris Ibrahim. He was once a minister also. Idris Ibrahim was always attacking IBB. They came from the same place. They grew up in Mina. I'm happy General Abdulsalam is there. And when I was asked to come and talk about the family, I was saying, why are people like General Abdulsalam Abubakar, General Mogoro, General Garba Duba, and now when I saw him attending the panel, I was so happy because he knows IBB better than any one of us. So, talking about his friends, Idris Ibrahim was always going after IBB. So I was the military director of military intelligence. I went to IBB and said, look, I will fix this your friend up. He said, what? Who? Say Idris Ibrahim. He said, no, don't touch him. He is my childhood friend. I said, and so what? This is what he is doing. He did this, he did that. He said, no, don't bother. So I went and confided in then General Abacha, who was the chief of army staff. I said, this is what happened between me and him. He said, well, you are joking. You don't know your president. President Babangida is one who will never forsake his own friends. So if you are his friend, he will never betray you. So people who are bringing the case of Vasta and IBB, they should go deep and find out exactly. We were there when it happened, and we had inquiries, we had a panel, we had a tribunal which looked into the case, and if General Vasta was innocent, nobody would have convicted him. Unfortunately, General Vasta was the leader, the most senior officer behind the attempted coup of 1986. So people should not jump into conclusion without knowing the facts. And on the, if you are looking for a patient officer, patient leader, go to IBB. IBB is a very patient individual. He will never jump into a conclusion without really finding the details, analyzing them, and having the best solution. And I had the moderator or the general saying IBB had the best of brains during his administration. Yes, if you look at the glassy of brains, IBB invited, both on the side of the military and the civilians. I think up to today we haven't seen an administration that can match that. And the people are forgetting about Dr. Chu Okongu, who was our Minister of Finance and later on Minister of Petroleum, one of the best brains brought from America to join the administration of IBB. Professor Jibril Aminu, Chief Clement Apongu, Bola Ajibola, and so many others. Mr. Emmanuel Iwuayanwu was talking about the where I will remember, I can remember, I think Mrs. Aribi Salah was the chief executive of that mineral, I will remember the name, but She was the chief executive of the department created by IBB, and I would like to emphasize the courageous attempt by IBB to create so many departments, so many outfits that make sure Nigerians were guided despite the little money he was earning at the time of his administration. The creation of the three organs of the intelligence, the SSS, the DIA, and the NIA, we started from the scratch. And today, go and see the infrastructure they are occupying is the effort of IBB. The military cantonments in Abuja, I thought subsequent administration would have emulated the IBB by building more barracks so that the military will have enough and comfortable accommodation. Unfortunately, since the first set of barracks we built, there was no additional barracks for the military. So this is, so you can even, again, go to the Federal Secretariat and see, even maintenance today is a difficult thing for the administration to maintain the infrastructure built by IBB. I am happy we had a leader who was visionary and who was courageous to take action, to take decisions at the right place and at the right time. I'm happy today Abuja is a reality. He took the decision when many of us were saying, look, maybe it was not time, it was not the right time, but single-handedly, he said, if you are not coming, I'm going. And I want to tell the audience, IBB had a plan to build a permanent headquarters for the Ministry of Defense. It's one of the infrastructure he wanted to be built in Abuja. In 1987-88, he mandated General Damkat Bali, then Minister of Defense, to go and look for a site in Abuja. Just give me a site, forget about everything. General Damkat Bali asked IBB, he wanted the plans, and he was given a sort of replica of American Pentagon. He asked IBB that he was going to engage a consultant. Funny enough, the contractor who was asked to be ready for the job was Julius Berger. Yet IBB said, okay, go and get the consultant. For 4 years, Damkat Bali couldn't come back to say, okay, we are ready and the site is here in Abuja. Again, unfortunately, when General Abacha took over as Minister of Defense, we repeated the same appeal. I was one of those who went to Abuja and surveyed for a place, a suitable site for the Ministry of Defense. We got where the DIA is today. That was a beautiful site, a beautiful, very large area for the Ministry of Defense. Unfortunately, General Abacha did not take action. He didn't deem it fit to say, okay, here we are, let us start. You people, some of you have visited the headquarters of NIA, Nigerian Intelligence, National Intelligence Agency, where I supervise the development of the infrastructure, you will see what we mean by giving Julius Berger jobs to do during our administration.
As we close this first panel, I would just want the final words from each of you. I would start with Chief Iwuanyawu. Let's hear from you. What exactly, the man at 80, what would you be saying to him as your passing shot?
Well, I would like to say there's an experience which I think I should mention to show you that this is a friend who is very, very reliable and dependable. In 1995, I lost my dear father, Chief Bernard Iwuayanwu, a Bediko of Vasta. It was a man in my village. Now, we were in the mortuary on the day we were to bury him. I was in the mortuary. The news went round that IBB was inside the mortuary. It was raining very heavily. I couldn't believe it. In Owerri, not in Abuja. I said, what? He said IBB was, somebody came and whispered to me IBB was there and had an umbrella and it was raining heavily. I came out and I saw him. He was there joining me to bury my father. He followed, he's not a Christian, he's a Muslim. We went from there to the Cathedral of Configuration of Lord in Owerri. He followed me to the church. After the church service, he followed me to my country home. He spent the whole day with me. I think he came with a private jet, so he had to go back. He had to go to the airport and return to Abuja that day. I was moved by that. I have never seen such behavior before. So if you want me to give a final word, I can say that, see, we have chronicled a lot. I mean, we have seen him in every ramification. That what in leadership is an excellent leader. In human relation, he's a humanist. He's a philanthropist. A man who has a car, and then somebody he gave it to him, and that is true. So we have seen that this is somebody balanced. So he has been misrepresented. And mark you, IBB is not the only leader in the world who is being misrepresented. All leaders are misrepresented. But it's for the leader to tell his own story. If you don't tell your story and others tell it, they won't tell it in your favor. I think today, IBB is now starting the process of telling his story. I feel happy to see Abdulsalam here. It was IBB who introduced me to Abdulsalam. Then Abdulsalam was the commander GOC at Enugu. So we met that time. He was a commander GOC. Then he was not the head of state. And he used to visit me even at the Owerri. So we established very good friendships. I knew Abdulsalam through IBB. So I think my statement to our friend IBB is not that today, as he now peeps into his future, as he now celebrates his 80th birthday, he must now state very clearly, he has seen that like that general, that great general who came and who saw and conquered, he should shout with joy that I came, I saw, and I conquered. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll go back to Mina. And as it is, because what we've done is brought Mina here to this hall. And for a man who had seen him through his 80 years minus one. So let's hear from you, sir, as we, pull the curtain on this first panel.
All that I can say is I wish IBB many happier returns of the same day. He should continue with what he has been, being a caretaker, a friend to all, and sundry. To illustrate the feeling of this general, Mr. Iwuanyawu mentioned about Maryam. I remember when Maryam passed away and she was being brought back to Mina, I could see the whole Niger State turned up to the airport to receive. And that, touched Ibrahim that he bursted into tears. Not that because his wife passed away, because of the love being shown to him and his family. And he earned it because you reap what you sow. So again, I want to congratulate the IBB family, the organization, who deemed it fit to set up this a conversation. I wish him well, I wish the family well, and I hope we keep meeting together with him as we do to share the old stories that we all cherish. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes. IBB, the legendary, blind loyalty, that's what people give to him because of the qualities that he has exhibited over the years. Courage as a leader, kindness to a fault, forgiveness. This indeed has been a revealing moment for the man that we all love. And before I leave you, I'll just share with you a very good memory of him. We recall that I did a documentary on his late wife, as a gender activist that I am, and for the voice that Auntie Maryam, as we called her then, gave to Nigerian women. And my phone rang endlessly. I wasn't familiar with the number. So I rang back. Who is this caller that won't allow my phone to rest? And in his usual chuckle, he said, Moji, this is IBB. And I said, sir, good evening. I didn't know it was you. I don't have your number. Yes, you don't have this number. But thank you for that good documentary and the reflection of your sister and your auntie. And I think that's what IBB does. He brings it home. It's not just about office, but the fact that he reflects to you as a member of the family. And so when I got the invitation from Aisha that the man IBB wanted me to do this, I felt very honored. I want to wish you, sir, very many happy returns, happiest of the days. You are so blessed. Beyond being a leader of this country, you have also been a good father.
Hello, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. All protocols duly observed. My name is Aisha Sambo, and I'm a creative director and an artist as a whole. And I'm so honored today to be giving this short poetry piece that I had some help developing. I work with a team of very intelligent creatives in Nigeria. And so I would like to start. The title of this piece is called A Rose, a Flower. Can I say that taking a shot at this is me being really bold? Because you know, long stories are not the easiest to be told. A summary might hardly do justice to the details that they hold, but here I am to let you see how this story would unfold. I begin this tale as a story of two entities, one a nation, the other a political personality. For at some point in between each of their stories, their plots intertwine and become as one. Of Ibrahim Babangida and the nation Nigeria. For the true story of one of these two are incomplete without mentioning the name of the other. Permit me to rewind to 17th of August, 1941, on the day we find a fine little boy born to Mohammed Badamasi and Inna Aisha Babangida. Tell me, did his father know that this little boy would grow to make the family name resound in so many ways far beyond Minna, on the TV screens and on the radio shows, to the country's power seat that many would yell his name? From the midwife's army, when his mother received him, did she somehow perceive that she had given birth to an embodiment of a fighter spirit? one that would sort of to find a place in the nation's history. Let us jump to 1963, a country 3 years young and free from colonial masters' grip, marking the milestone of her first republic, 1963. A young officer in his 20s attends the Indian Military Academy and receives his personal number for the army. 1967, a significant year for the country when peace left town and war broke out. Military training of IBB and others come in handy. Led a battalion, led an army. He gets wounded in an enemy fire so heavy after recovery, back to the war zone he was heading. After the war, the story of the nation at this point was one flung into the hands of military coup, a time when the country shook. I doubt at the time the generals knew, or maybe they did, that if there was some mystic story writer typing this story, all these events would be meant to deliberately tilt the nation's plot towards civic rule. Among many other names, Ibrahim Babangida rings a bell, instrumental to the many of the structures that would come to tell stories of Nigeria we all know so well. Being a genius at watching and planning, here Nigeria meets a man with great vision of all that she could be. And this we grow to see in his efforts that are still vital elements running through her bloodstream. Dear Baba IBB, as I like to call him, served as a midwife for the birth of many Nigerian states, or the draftsman, you may say, that drew more regions out of the Nigerian canvas. 1987, Akwa Ibom and Katsina. 1991, Abia, Delta, Yobe, Enugu, and Jigawa. Kogi, Kebbi, Osun, and Taraba. Also, Lagos, bustling with economic activity, but her expanding population was far from healthy. See, he and his team led the relocation of government seats from Lagos to Abuja, the current FCT. Let us rewind to the days our country fought in other zones. The Nigerian troops in Liberia and Sierra Leone, fighting for our sister country, like their troubles were our very own. A time of uprising and downturns. Hasn't Nigeria had enough of her share? If I say this phrase, that every rose comes with its thorns, you'd nod and say yes. I guess I'd say it in this way, that in this story, like every story, some held the stalk so thorny, while others perceived the scent of the rose. Many might misunderstand a rose for its thorn, but the rose flower has never gotten extinct. Daily, we are learning that it might be problematic to reach certain goals. Now, we reflect on ways to rebuild this country, coin new ways to manage and redesign the economy, to learn and unlearn. No one might fully grasp it, like a man who has many chapters in his life, interlaced with Nigerians' identity. Like a playwright, someone planned it. To create policies and make decisions is so brave. It takes a lot of grit and courage, and we never really know for sure if all our efforts and seeds we plant would sprout much more than we expected. But how will we know if we never try? And so my message and final word is that just like IBB, we continue to try. Thank you.